All right. Well, welcome to another episode here of the Spurs Rewind. We have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to be joined by our usual suspects here. We're going to be joined by the one and only Vicky Vic. Vicky, how's it going?
Good. It's going well. How are you?
Doing great, especially after the Spurs made a trade. We wanted a trade, they finally made one. And we're going to be joined here by the newest addition to the Spurs Rewind here. We're going to be
Yay.
joined by Rocky Garza Jr. Rocky, how's it going?
Pretty good, and I have to agree with you, Joe. I'm pretty happy they got a trade finally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was, it was so odd that this happened. Usually the Spurs, through a lot of fanfare, don't do nothing. And then of course a trade has to happen like near the time of day where everybody's kind of getting situated to go ahead and get ready to start going to sleep, because everybody's got work tomorrow and whatnot. And what happens? We get word that not Josh. I'm thinking about your typo, Vicky. We get word that Bryn Forbes was traded to the Denver Nuggets via a three way deal. And it was three teams involved. It was the Denver Nuggets, San Antonio Spurs, and the Boston Celtics. So to go ahead and get all the details on this, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up here. I thought I already had it pulled up, but whatever. Okay, now I have it pulled up. So I'll bring that and transition into our next screen. All right. So as we can see here, I have the Twitter up here, and we're looking at Adrian Wojnarowski's Twitter because he put everything as far as like the layout of the context of what happened during the trade. So the Spurs went ahead and traded Bryn Forbes to the Denver Nuggets, and in return we got Juancho Hernangomez, who's a kind of a stretch four. Spurs kind of just, I guess, wanted a body to kind of fill that position. I get it. And in return, they're going to go ahead and send Bryn Forbes to the Nuggets. And in this scenario here, we get Hernan Gomez, and then we also get a protected pick. I mean, it has to be numbers, 31 through 33, but it's a second round pick and it's for the 2028 NBA draft. So I saw all the memes that everybody was putting out there, and they were saying this is the kid that Spurs are going to get, are going to pick in the draft right now. And they show a little kid playing video games. I'm like, yes, yes, we all get the pun and all that. But and then needless to say, it is a second round pick. The Spurs also
Mhm.
received 2.35 million dollars. 2.15 million of that comes to us by way of Boston. So that's basically the gist of the deal for the Spurs, and the rest of it is, um, was it Dozier and Bobo? They wind up going to the Boston Celtics. So all in all, not a bad deal for the San Antonio Spurs. They kind of get Juancho Hernan Gomez, and he's not, let's say, coming with a hefty price tag. We can go ahead and still
Mhm.
waive him if we wanted to, after the end of the season. I mean, it's not guaranteed. He's not on a guaranteed contract. So Spurs get some money back, second round pick. They could have done worse. I kind of like the move. I think this signals something that all Spurs fans have been wondering about. And I think we can go ahead and just finally say they've decided which way they're going to go. By getting rid of one of your shooters, you're going to full on tank at this point. I think it's safe to say they might still stay competitive, but we all know what's happening here. We'll go ahead and start with you, Vicky. What were your thoughts when the trade broke on out? And you got the notification. What were your thoughts? Were you crying because you're going to say bye to Bryn?
No, I was shocked. I actually was a little shocked though. I know, none of us were excited when when the Spurs acquired him again. Kind of thinking of all the old habits and everything, but I do think he was a pretty good contributor this year and obviously one of the best shooters on the team. So when I saw, yeah, that they were dealing him out, I was kind of like, "Oh, what does this mean?" So yeah, but I mean, there's some pluses. I'm happy that they're making moves. Maybe this is kind of, a prelude to something happening with Thaddeus Young. I guess we just have to see how it's gonna play out, but I didn't expect them to do anything. I really didn't expect them to make any kind of trades. Um, I didn't expect Bryn to be one of the ones. Early in the season, I did, but it was just kind of interesting to see him being, um, yeah, being, what do you call it? Shopped out. But, he hasn't played. He didn't play for, like, the last 2 or 3 games, so I guess, you know, you could kinda see it coming if we had been looking. I really wasn't expecting it. I think there's another player higher priority to trade at this time, but, I mean, I guess you take what you can.
Yeah, I think at this point it's a trade. So Spurs fans kind of get excited that something actually happened. Rocky, what were your
Yeah.
first thoughts on hearing that Bryn Forbes is getting traded and being sent to the Denver Nuggets?
Well, I didn't see it till like 15 minutes after it leaked and after it came out, and I was real like I thought it was a meme, and I was like, "There's no way Bryn got traded." Everyone loves Bryn. Of course, we loved when Forbes came back to San Antonio, and like it was just funny because people would be like, "Why is he here?" And like you would have those people who were like, "Well, he's a champion," and that's what everyone's excuse would be. But I kind of figured he would get traded in a way, but not so soon. I was at the game this past game against the Suns. I didn't see him step in at all. And so it was kind of
Yeah.
weird to me. They needed some outside shooting in that game, and Forbes never saw the floor. So I was like, maybe something's going to happen. But I figured Thaddeus would get traded first.
Same.
And I was telling my friend when we were at the game, I go, that's future Spur right there, Jalen Smith. I was like, you see Dario over there, he's just chilling. I was like, I can't wait to see Spurs fans watch a guy in
Mm.
goggles for our team. But yeah, it's just weird not even seeing Thaddeus touch the floor at all. But I mean, he kind of, in a way, he kind of deserved it. He didn't fit the timeline of the Spurs. It was really confusing when he came back. I saw them as a tanking team, so I don't know what they were trying to do. But I'm glad they got a future second pick, a second round pick, and it's kind of funny though all the memes that are like this thing. Some middle schooler right now is going to algebra class and he's going to play for the Spurs eventually.
Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong. I mean, it's going to be a while before we see that second
True.
round pick, but needless to say, it is a second round pick. And hopefully by that time, the Spurs will, be able to pick somebody so they can kind of fill the need of the team. So there's
Mhm.
always something to look forward to. But we're going to go ahead and kind of move away from the Bryn Forbes trade talk because, I mean, it is what it is at this point. We're just going to look forward to the lottery balls at the end of the season and see where they fall. Hopefully it's a top 5 pick. But we're going to bring up something here that it was a heated debate among Spurs Twitter, faithful. You had the faction of Spurs fans who actually took issue to, I guess, fans in the arena chanting MVP for one DeJounte Murray. And you have the other side of Spurs Twitter questioning why are they chanting MVP for one DeJounte Murray. I'm like, they got to have something to get excited about. While he might not be in that MVP conversation, he definitely is in the conversation for, you know, maybe a nod to the NBA All-Star game. We'll see what happens at that juncture. I mean, there's still the voting closes, I believe, this Friday. But you have to have something to get excited for, you know? And they have the affectionate fan that says, well, he's not even going to make it, not even going to sniff the NBA All Star game. This team is absolutely horrible. Why are they even chanting MVP? They shouldn't be embarrassed. And, you have a lot of other phrases that I'm not going to repeat on here. My thing is, if you're a fan, you're at the game, you're excited because this team is actually winning a game and DeJounte's playing great, and you want to chant MVP, that's your prerogative. There's no gatekeepers here. Oh, you have to do a certain thing or you have to be of a certain fandom in order to be able to
Right.
be able to chant MVP for your player that you're supporting.
Mhm.
It is what it is at that point. I mean, I understand that there's two different fans. You have the woke Spurs Nation and the other facet that says, "Oh, you just blindly follow everything they just throw at you, and you don't want change. You don't want anything better to come about." So you're just going to keep on buying tickets, and they've even gone as far as saying, "Oh, they hope the team gets bought out, moves away, don't go to games, don't support anything." I'm like, are you even a fan at that point? You got to at least question that. It's like, come on, man. So, Vicky, do you take issue to the fans in the arena just chanting, "Hey, DeJounte, MVP."
No. Not at all. I mean, it's obviously he's not in the MVP running. Like, people chanting it don't think that he's going to be the MVP. It's
No.
just something like, you're paying him some respect. He obviously is the MVP of the Spurs. But you're not going to chant MVP of the Spurs. Like, there's no way you could do that. It's just a respect. I've heard other.
Other teams
Oh,
do
am
it.
I still talking? What?
Other teams do it. Other
What did
fans
you
have done
say?
it.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like, I remember being really young, like as a young Spurs fan, when Tim Duncan was MVP, MVP all the time. And I remember hearing other teams chanting for their player, their main player, like MVP. And I'd be like, oh, they shouldn't do that. And as I got older, I was like, well, what else do they have? Like, if they don't have an actual MVP, like league wide MVP on their team, like, give them something, give them credit. And
Yeah.
I completely support it. Um, I don't see anything wrong with it. And I think it's just silly how so many people just want to start something like, come on, they're losing. Like, give them something.
Yeah.
And DeJounte deserves praise. He really does. And if he's not an all-star, I still think he's got to be in the top, I don't know, top 3 or 4 for most improved player. I think he should be most improved player this year, but I doubt he's going to get that recognition. So yeah, I mean, he deserves some kind of praise, and yeah, fans can do what they want. I don't
Exactly.
blame them.
They can do what they want. I mean, if you're looking at possibly a 30 wins, season, you got to find something to get excited about. Yes, it's going to be the NBA draft, but you got to look at, like you say, the silver lining and things that are transpiring right now in the season. I'm not going to
Yes.
take away your praise. I'm not going to do that. That's your thing. That's your thing. But we'll go to you, Rocky. What do you think? I mean, you're the one that kind of brought this topic up. So what are your thoughts in this? Do the fans actually have a right to chant DeJounte for MVP? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think you're right. Like, why should there be a gatekeeper of what the fans should do? I'm going to enjoy the game and of my team. But to start off, what I'm about to say is just like I don't get and understand why fans are so miserable and so many people fight over how the team should be. I mean, if you're really a fan, you're gonna go through hard times. And in my most recent article, I talked about like the Spurs were bound to go through losing seasons. Like it was just bound to happen. The Spurs got a lucky jump, you get a lucky bounce, and we have the big three. And now, like, you don't see the big three, and fans are freaking out because they're not winning, and that's just unfortunate truth. Yes, you can say like, well, they can make a trade and try to jump for playoffs, but then you're going to mortgage your future even more. Next thing you know,
Mhm.
the San Antonio Spurs are going to become the Los Angeles Lakers. No future. They have one star. I'm not saying that we're going to trade for LeBron, but we're going to have one All Star, and then everyone's just going to break down. So what's the point of that? But I mean, if I'm going to the game and I chant Dejounte, that's at least something positive I can do. I mean, any fan's gonna would probably agree. Dejounte is not the MVP of the league, but he's the MVP of the team. I mean,
Mhm.
there's something we have to enjoy. You have fans chanting Primo and praising him like he's the next Michael Jordan, next Mecca. So why don't we complain about that? Like we had fans
Exactly.
arguing about Josh Primo, like why do we choose him, and now everyone's praising him. I mean, I have to admit I had to bite my tongue because I was like, why are we getting Josh Primo in the draft? I was all for Alfred Seguin or if Scotty Barnes
Mhm.
dropped, but there's no point of being gatekeeped and we should just let it enjoy now. And I understand people can say, well, we've had past MVP, so we don't need to, just try to make something out of nothing. But DeJounte deserves that praise. And maybe if
Mhm.
like that keeps him here, you never know if he's going to leave, but he's seeing the appreciation he finally gets because there's a lot of people that didn't give him this praise at the beginning of the year.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. he didn't
100.
they didn't even think that he was going to be in the conversation of, oh, maybe
Right.
he's going to have an NBA caliber
Mm-hmm.
season. That was even in the conversation there, but it clearly he
Exactly.
is. Other teams and other players have even recognized him and said, hey, you should vote for DeJounte. He deserves to be in the All-Star game. He even got a nod for, was it the Western Conference Player of the
Mhm.
Week? So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's doing some good things. I mean, there's no doubt that he's a much improved player compared to last season. So you can only,
Oh, yeah.
just support him and be glad that this is happening. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know Spurs fans are a finicky bunch, but I mean, come on, man. You gotta find something to look forward to right now. It is what it is
Yes.
in this uh season. It looks like the Spurs might remain competitive, and it's going to be a soft tank job. Let's put it like that. But you wanted to also talk about Rocky. You had mentioned about the Spurs and how they just let Devin Booker just go off on them when the Spurs were playing the Suns. I mean, he had a pretty good game. I believe what he scored 48 points. He was just too shy of
Hmm.
50. So
Yes.
I mean, he always seems to go off on the Spurs. They just don't really have an answer for Book. He is a good point guard, one of the league's best, and it is what it is at this juncture. The Spurs are inexperienced, still kind of trying to find their footing. And this is what's going to happen when you go up against some of the better talent. While you can remain competitive for a couple of quarters, I mean, the wheels fell off in that fourth quarter. They
Mhm.
really, the Sun said, okay, we're tired of playing with them. We're going to really show what we got. And Book just went off the whole game. So, Rocky, your thoughts on this, man?
Well, man, personally, that was my first time ever seeing Devin Booker in person, and I was just truly amazed because, like, off the bat, right after the game, he drops 18 in the first quarter. I'm like, is this guy going to drop 80 on the Spurs head? And I was like, oh my
Mhm.
god, like as much as I am a Spurs fan, mention it, I see Devin Booker going to drop 80 or more. It's history in the making. So it was pretty cool, but it kind of showed me that yes, Dejounte to me is the true star of the team, but like we don't have that true superstar like a Devin Booker, as you mentioned, Joe.
Mhm.
They were kind of playing with the Spurs. The Spurs kept up, but even in an ugly game the Suns had, Devin Booker just took over. Dejounte has shown flashes of it, and he may get to that level, or maybe another player goes up to that level. But it just shows that the talent level between our team and the Suns is really different, and it's just that they have Chris Paul, they have Devin Booker, they have an experienced coach in Monty Williams, and we're all young. And I know Spurs fans were excited to keep up with the Suns, but ten, probably 9 out of 10 times they're going to lose to the Suns. I personally predicted that they would lose, but I'm glad they kept up, and they need to go through those losses. They need to, see how it feels because
Yeah,
that's
the
the only
growing
way they're going to
pains.
grow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Josh is crazy, man. He's putting something out here. He's funny. Josh Paredes, he goes, the Paredes pipe bomb was Bryn's undoing. Yeah, that's what we always used to make fun of Josh because he would break some news and we'd always say Rudy's the one that they gave him the acronym, the pipe bomb. So that's
Aw.
that's funny. Got nothing but love for you, Josh. Hope you're doing good over there.
Aw.
And Eric Pacina, he says, we'll put it up here on screen. He says, so who's the next on the hit trade list? When do you cheer for Tankathon? Oh, it's a soft tank job that's going to be going on, no doubt. I mean, they're going to remain competitive, but getting rid
Yeah.
of Bryn, kind of signifies what direction the team is actually going to be going in. So you already know, look forward to the lottery balls. That's all we could say. But
Yeah.
a lot of things are being brought up. Okay, now that you're gonna, go ahead and you traded, Bryn Forbes, and you're bringing on, Juancho Hernangomez. There's not a lot of minutes to be going around, so more than likely we'll be lucky to see him even hit the floor. He's gonna have to battle for minutes with Drew Eubanks. He's gonna have to battle minutes with some of the other bigs that the Spurs have as well. I mean, there's Jakob
Zach
Portal,
Collins
Zach
now.
Collins coming back. It's like
Hmm.
Yeah.
where is he gonna get minutes if he's gonna get minutes? And it is what it is.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be tough for the kid to kind of break on through and get minutes in the rotation. So
Hmm.
yes, I know Spurs fans are excited to get him, but the likelihood of him
Yeah.
actually getting quality minutes is very low. You know, and which other players do we think or might get traded? I mean, you still have Thaddeus Young, and I'm sure that the Spurs are taking inquiries, maybe making some calls. Trying to gauge the interest in one Thaddeus Young. I mean, he still wants to play. He's a veteran. He's just not getting a ton of minutes here with the San Antonio Spurs. So that's one player that you definitely need to keep an eye on. The other one that we keep hearing time and time again is Drew Eubanks, so we don't know if that's going to be a certainty or not. It's just something that you're hearing through the pipe, over and over and over again. Even Jakob Portal's name comes up here and there in trade rumors. The likelihood of that happening to me is very low. I doubt if the Spurs are going to want to get rid of their starting center unless they're getting
Yeah.
something really good in return, because Jakob right now is your second most consistent player that you have on this team behind one DeJounte Murray. So those are just my, names that I've been hearing. Uh, Vicky, have you been hearing anything else or a player that you think might get traded at the deadline?
Um, no, I haven't really heard anything else, but I did hear something about the potential of waiving Hernan Gomez, and I don't remember what that like motivation would be. Something about clearing up a roster spot and basically just being left with a million over what they would have been at anyway. Plus, they added the 2028 pick. So I heard that, but I don't know how likely that is. I guess I could see a possibility of that happening just because it's like the Spurs are all guards or all big. Like that's it. Like I don't know. Like there's so many of them that just fit into those two positions. Well, I guess three, but yeah, I don't really know how he fits with the Spurs right now, especially like you said with Zach Collins coming back. And I don't know where Zach Collins fits at this point either. Unless, yeah, I know Rocky mentioned maybe less Eubanks minutes.
Well, that's one of the
Maybe.
things that we had on the agenda, so I think it's a good segue for us to kind of, talk
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
But Rocky, let's go ahead and get your input in this. Any other, player on the roster you think might go ahead and get traded before the deadline?
I mean, the only person that we keep mentioning is just Thaddeus to me. Unless the Spurs surprise us and make a big trade and go after a big alpha hunter, you have some Spurs Twitter factions wanting Sabonis, a Miles Turner, and that's
Demontis.
gonna, yeah, Demontis Sabonis and Miles Turner, and that's gonna take a lot of the Spurs roster. And
Mhm.
that's just going to show you that if they go for that, they're going to be heading towards the playoffs, pushing towards it, or if they're going to be sending out players, they're going to be tanking. But
Mhm.
that's pretty much all I've only seen. I didn't really hear Vicky's the first time that Vicky told me about the waiving of Hernan Gomez. Like y'all keep saying, I don't know where he's going to get minutes either. But Jakob relatively takes all the minutes, and you have Jock. To me,
Mhm.
Eubanks he's a high energy guy, but he doesn't provide much offense like Jock does. But the Spurs
Mhm.
just need to solve the depth behind Jakob, because if Jakob's in foul trouble, you're going to see a lot of centers abuse it. And you saw Bismarck Biombo abuse the Spurs, and many people consider him a journeyman. But throughout the years, he's abused the Spurs many times from his Charlotte days.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
one of the things that I wanted to touch on real quick here too is actually Zach Collins. We got the word here that Zach Collins is going to be, uh, you know, going and doing some time over there with the Austin Spurs. The NBA G League affiliate, and that signifies that they're starting to, go ahead and rehab him, and get him in, get his conditioning where it needs to be, so they can go ahead and bring him over, and possibly, even break into the rotation here. And this is one of the Spurs' biggest gambles, I thought, in the offseason. They got him at a good price. And if he does pan out and stays healthy, I mean, and plays at a high level, this could actually be good, really good for the San Antonio Spurs. So I'm excited that we're getting closer to seeing one Zach Collins hopefully make his return here to the San Antonio Spurs rotation. Probably going to be, I would say, at least a month or so, before that actually happens. So something to definitely keep an eye on. Vicky, what are your thoughts on Collins making his return to the team?
I'm excited. I have, since they acquired him back in the summer, I was kind of like, okay, I could see him fitting in really well with the roster the way that they are. He's young. If he can stay healthy, I think he'd be a really good addition. I am nervous though about that because of the fact that he's one of those players that has been kind of like injury ridden and he's been out for so long. So yeah, it's definitely going to take a while, I think, for his rehab and playing with Austin. But again, like we were just saying, like I don't know how he fits. I mean, they can definitely make some changes and move things around, but it's just very weird right now with the way the roster is, I guess, organized. You can't really tell what they're trying to do. Um, did my mic go out?
No, I can still
Am
hear
I
you.
oh, okay, sorry, my computer started telling me something. Yeah, so I mean, I'm excited for it, definitely to see him play, but I don't expect too much right at the start. I think it's gonna take a while, even after he rehabs and comes back. getting back into the high level of play is going to be a little bit of an adjustment. So we'll see. But I don't know. I'm excited about seeing him play with DeJounte for some reason because I think they're both kind of quick and like, I don't know. I'm excited.
Our good friend Rudy Campos Jr. is watching and he says, "Whoa, John Diaz looks like Rocky Garza now." Shout out to you, John. We miss you, John.
Aww.
Rocky, what are your thoughts here, man? What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
I'm pretty excited as well. I mean, I know I told you I'm excited for Zach Collins, the tough guy. He's going to be that guy that nasty the Spurs need. You saw it a couple years ago when he was talking some mess to Klay Thompson and didn't back down. But he's been pretty solid since college. But like Vicky said, he's been very injury ridden. But it's going to be interesting to see if he's the answer that the Spurs need at the forward position. And I know they have Keldon running at the four, but I feel like he's more fitted towards the three because it's a mismatch relatively against a lot of power forwards you see in the league. So it's going to be interesting if Zach Collins is going to be that guy at the four. And also, if the Spurs do end up tanking, they get a high pick, a top 3 pick, you say, and they probably most likely are going to go after a 4. You have Chet Holmgren, Paulo Banchero, or Jabari Smith. It's going to be interesting if Pop starts, leaves Zach Collins in lineups, and puts a rookie into Austin, which the Spurs fans love when the players go to Austin. Or is that rookie going to start right off the bat? There's those 3 top rookies are very talented and they should be NBA ready, but it's going to be a process, and patience is the key word for Spurs fans that they absolutely love, and they love when the Spurs being patient.
Yeah. So good news here coming down the pipe that we're close to seeing a Zach Collins return to the team. So definitely, if you can, make sure you go ahead and check out some of the Austin, Spurs games to see how he's, progressing. So transitioning over to DeJounte, um, we're going to go ahead and go around the horn here, and we'll start with you, Rocky. What's the likelihood? What do you think of as far as the percentage chance of DeJounte actually getting the nod and making the NBA All Star game? It could be by default too because of COVID, and players getting injured, maybe some players getting sick. But either way, what do you think the likelihood is of him actually getting the nod?
See, okay, before you said COVID, my odds
Yeah.
were lower, Joe. But now you bring COVID into it, so I'm gonna be nice to 60-40. But as a disclaimer, I'm not saying DeJounte doesn't deserve it. But if you look at it, DeMar didn't make it. To
Yeah.
anyone's naked eye, DeMar is a way better player than DeJounte. I mean, that's my opinion. But if DeMar didn't make it based off his stats he had last year with the Spurs, how is DeJounte going to make it? There's a lot of really good guards in the West, and DeMar actually could have made it last year as a replacement, but Mike Conley ended up getting the nod over him. But like you mentioned, COVID could happen. People opt out, so he could get the nod, which isn't bad. We'll have another Spurs player in the All-Star game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, haven't had one since LaMarcus. And 60-40 is my bet right now, Joe. It was at 40-60, but I'll go 60-40 to be nice.
Okay. And Vicky, what do you think? What are you giving as far as your percentage chance that DeJounte gets the nod and makes the
Honestly,
All-Star game?
I think 50%. I'm like
You're at
dead on
50-50?
50. I was 40-60 before the COVID
Oh
mention.
my goodness.
But because exactly like Rocky said, the West is so full of good guards. Like I know last week we kind of touched on this too, and I mentioned a couple, and then I blanked. But I mean, last week I forgot Devin Booker, Chris Paul, okay, Lillard is out, but there's still, even with Lillard out, there are like 4 or 5 or 6 guards that are like ahead of DeJounte. So it stinks because he's up there. Like he's on the top of all the stats. And yeah, he's great. He's awesome. But it's just also the winning factor, like the fact that so many of those good guards are on teams that are winning and are going to go to the playoffs. That plays into it, obviously. So yeah, I'm like 50%. And I think if he does get it, same thing. Great. That'll be awesome. Huge confidence booster for him. Not that I think he really necessarily needs that, because I do think that he cares about winning with the Spurs more than anything. But it would be great for him and a good accomplishment for him to add to his, his short career. I still think.
Yeah,
he's
I
still
feel like
pretty
the
young.
Russian judge here, man. I really do, because I'm giving him a 20% chance, 80% chance that does not get in,
20?
20% chance that he might get in. And it might be by default. It
What?
might be by
I thought
default, like I said.
I thought we were being nice, Joe.
I
I am being nice. I'm keeping it real, man. Like, I mean, has he played great? Yes, he's played
Hmm.
amazing this season. But when you're looking at, as we're going to talk about right now, the voting process, it's a
Hmm.
popularity vote, you know, and
Yes.
there's a big chunk of the voting that comes from fan voting. And right now,
Hmm.
DeJounte's not really on the fan radar because we're not, you know, San Antonio's not in a big market. You know, we're not a big market team. You have other, you know, teams like the Warriors, you know, the Lakers, for example. And you see a lot of their players being voted into the NBA All-Star game. It is what it is. I mean, that's what happens when you play for San Antonio, you know. And should the process be changed at this point? You know, that's one of the topics that that Rocky brought up. You know, you have the fan vote, which is like what 50% of the total vote to determine the starters for the NBA All Star game, and then you have the media and the coaches that kind of vote other players in, and then if there's something going on with injuries, well, that's going to be left up to the NBA commissioner. This, at this point, it's Adam Silver is going to be the one to make that determination. Okay, if somebody's injured, who's going to go ahead and get the nod? Who are we going to go ahead and put in to replace, said injured player? I think at this point, the fan vote should be like lowered down as far as the percentage that the fans
Yeah.
have as far as voting in said players. I think that should be more like maybe a 20%, 25%. The rest should actually be done by the actual, you know, players themselves and the coaches, and the media, of course. That's just my thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, Rocky?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, if you look back a couple seasons ago, you had Ennis Cantor almost make the All Star game. He had the
Mhm.
whole country vote for him, and that's crazy to think Ennis Cantor's whole country voted for him. But San Antonio's big, even though we're relatively a small market. But San Antonio's so big, and we can't get Dejounte in the All Star. He's not even
Yeah.
top 10 like in the All Star, like, based off like the results that have gotten in. But they should go based more off what players and media go see because they have more knowledge and more understanding of who's better. I mean, they're going to be honest. They're going to, like you said, you're going to keep it real of who should be in and who should not. Most fans kind of go off memes and like you have those meme type
Yes.
players, or they just go like you keep saying popularity. You have Clay Thompson in it, and Clay barely returned a couple weeks ago. He hadn't played all
Yeah.
season. You just see a lot of meme players, and it's just kind of sad because like Dejounte's is a very deserving player, but some
Yeah.
players, like you keep saying, go off popularity.
Yeah. So, what
For
are your
sure.
thoughts, Vicky? Do you think the voting process needs to change?
Yes, I've thought this for a long time. Like, I just don't see how it's fair. Um, I don't see how it's fair that you can have, like you were saying, Clay Thompson up there who has played like 3 or 4 games, I don't even know, maybe less than that.
Or even
And then
Russell
you have
Westbrook?
right, or yeah, he's not performing at the level that he once was. It's just name. People obviously just are going off of name, who they know the best, yeah, who they see in TV commercials, whatever. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't know how other sports work with all-star games. But to me, it would make sense, right? If the coaches or the players would vote in the starters, I think then maybe the reserves could be I don't know, popularity contest, which I still think is not cool. Like it's just not fair. Um and so yeah, I don't know why it's become this way because I don't know, it's not fun to just see all of these popular players when some of them are coming off injuries or I don't know, aren't in their prime anymore.
Yeah.
It should go based off of stats. I think it'd be cool to go based off of stats, overall stats, like,
Mhm.
the top
Not only
10
that, but
best
record as
players.
well. Your record as a team.
Or record, yeah, or a mix of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's the process is really annoying. I've been annoyed with the all-star all-star voting and game for a while now because it's just so arbitrary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be in favor if anyone ever asked me.
Well,
Change
we'll
it.
see if they make any changes. It's been the same tried and true
Yes.
formula for quite some time, but that's up to the league and Adam
Mhm.
Silver to make those changes if need be. We'll see if anything does transpire and happen. But as we start bringing this show to a close and we start getting near the end of the Spurs Rewind for this week, one of the topics that we're going to talk about here is something that I'm going to change the script on. Rocky went ahead and actually said, let's give mid-season awards for the Spurs. The only reason we're not giving
Yeah.
mid-season awards is because the current state of the team and the record. This is going to feel like a reach if we start giving out awards to this team and where they're currently at.
I
So
mean
what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and hand out a mid-season grade for the team as a whole, you know? And we're gonna go ahead and
Mm.
start with you, Rocky, since you're the one that brought up this topic. If you can hand a mid-season grade out for the San Antonio Spurs, what would you grade them anywhere from A to F? And be honest, keep it real, for the fan base here.
C minus. I'll be a C minus just because you know they're getting those young players developed and they're getting them meshed together for the future. And C minus works for me. I know they're losing, and I don't think it can go to a D, but C minus works.
Okay, I can respect that. Now we're gonna come to Vicky here. Vicky, what grade would you give the Spurs thus far in the season?
I think just a solid C. I was gonna say C plus, but I don't know if I can really justify that. And I know that some of it has to do with the fact that like that this big losing streak that they've just gone
Hmm.
through, yeah, it had to do with COVID. So it feels like it's not fair to fully judge them based on this season because if it were a regular season where everyone could be healthy, I think they'd be in a much better spot.
Hmm.
Um, but since they went through that and we're not, giving any extra credit or whatever for COVID, um, yeah, I'd say a C. They're doing okay. They're not terrible. They're not completely like worst in the league, and they beat some of the best teams this season. So I think they deserve some credit. But I still think there are a lot of things that they haven't messed up on, that Pistons loss. The other day there was another one that was very similar that I was like, okay, oh, Houston should have been a win. Those kinds of things that are like, you should know better. So yeah, I think they're
Hmm.
kind of just passing.
Okay, well, I can respect what you guys are saying, and I'm also gonna go ahead and say something that might surprise you all, because I'm gonna keep it real here. Given the state of the team, currently they have a record of 16 and 28. Like you just said, they've lost against teams that they should have beat. They go on
Hmm.
losing streaks. I'm giving them a solid F at this point based on their performance. While they go ahead and they show spurts of them growing, and they go ahead and you can see some of the growth in some of the younger players. The consistency's still not there, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things. I don't care if you win or you lose, as long as you can go ahead and consistently be competitive. And we haven't
I
seen
don't
that happen.
I don't think you could give them an F though. That would be like if they hadn't won anything.
They've only won 16 games and they're
Okay.
16 and 28. We're almost at that halfway mark of the season. We got
Yeah.
rid of Bryn Forbes already. I mean, just to, be real, I mean, things are not looking any better. So while you see some of the growth from some of these younger players, the effort as a team is still not there. And I think that's what a lot of these Spurs fans take issue with is the effort.
Hmm.
Again, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, as long as you go ahead and show a consistent effort by keeping up with some of these teams or, even trying to sustain a league in the fourth quarter. I mean, most of the things that happen with the Spurs that spells doom for them is the third quarter. They come out and absolutely just come out flat. They go through spurts where they can't even hit a shot for 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, that's pretty bad, Oh, look at oh my goodness, Josh is in here again. Josh says they lost a full letter with the Detroit loss. What the F was that? He puts, but the trades get them to a D plus. Okay, well, y'all
Oh,
are. I'm
okay.
saying y'all are making me look bad. I'm looking like the Russian judge
I,
at this
I,
point.
I have to add something, Joe. Do you think your letter would go up if they had Demar this season with this team?
I don't even think with Demar their record would have been that much better. And it's not saying that it's something that Demar would have done. Demar always went out there and played really hard for this team. It's just the supporting cast right now. Are they that
Hmm.
bad? No, but there's a lot of inexperience that's surrounding, this San Antonio Spurs squad right now. And until you can go ahead and get that experience, learn from that and get better, and it's not just as an individual player, it's as a team as a whole, you're still going to be in this kind of holding pattern, this flux, where you're kind of your own worst enemy, almost like the Dallas Cowboys. You hurt your own team because of the mistakes that you make out there on the court, That's just something they're going to have to work through, until they learn how to do that. this is going to be the norm for us. I don't really see this team going forward and winning more than 30 games. I mean, I just don't really see how that's going to happen. Even when you have the dreaded rodeo road trip coming up here shortly, that's going to be the make or break for you. You're either going to wind up getting it for Pop, and you're going to get those 10 wins and put him over, as the most winningest coach in NBA history, or you're going to fall short. And there's no way about to kind of soften the blow for Spurs fans. This team has a chance to still do something. They just need to kind of put things together. And hopefully we getting back Zach Collins, will kind of help that. But you just still need some consistency. Now that you've lost Bryn Forbes, are you going to give those minutes to Primo? Are you showing that you're putting your stock in one Josh Primo? Not promo, Vicky, but Josh Primo. So there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. So that's why I kind of graded him with the Neff overall. I'm still a Spurs fan. I'm still going to support the team, wear the merchandise.
You're tough on them.
I'm not giving up on the team. Every team goes through these spurts. Every team has to rebuild, grow, have a young core come in. You have to be patient with them and watch them grow. So that's what the pattern that we're in at this juncture. We just have to kind of see how things pan out for us. But they definitely do need some help, and hopefully if they don't win a lot of games, that's not a problem. The NBA draft lottery is coming up. Hopefully they can get some help and maybe they turn that into maybe a top 5 pick or maybe move up and get a second or third, because I saw some projected drafts where they had the Spurs going up as high as that second pick. And that got me a little excited. I'm going to be honest, but anything can still happen. So hopefully good things are ahead for the San Antonio Spurs future, for their future.
I wish Spurs fans all had your mindset, Joe. I don't know why some Spurs fans were so negative coming into the season. It was written on the wall they were going to struggle.
Yeah,
and
I told them.
Spurs fans did not accept that.
I told them before the season even started. I said the mantra for this season is it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. I know that they had really high expectations. They're tired of the team not making it into the playoffs. But it's a process. I was here for some of these other rebuilds that occurred. I was here for the Spurs before they drafted one David Robinson. And then it took him 2 seasons to actually come and play with the team. They weren't very good. And then when he came to play with the team, a miraculous turnaround, one of the best turnarounds in NBA history. But they still had first round knockouts. They lost close games against some good teams. A lot of heartbreak there until they went ahead and got one Tim Duncan. They got the luck of the draw there. And lo and behold, what happened? That kind of turned things around for them. And then they started winning NBA championships. Robinson couldn't do it all by himself. He needed some help. And that's exactly what's happening right now with this team. They definitely need some help. I'm sure, if things can pan out for them the right way, maybe through the draft, maybe they'll have to make some trades and say goodbye to some of these players that Spurs fans love so much. It happens. They never thought they would get rid of Sean Elliott. They traded him to Detroit. They never thought they would get rid of Malik Rose. They traded him. Same thing with Avery Johnson. You can't get attached to players because the NBA is a business. So in order for the team to get better, sometimes you got to say goodbye to some of these players that you really form this bond with. You get enamored with. So I'm just saying the NBA is a business. So this can happen. And maybe we'll see some tears coming out from Vicky, if they get rid of Josh Primo, they won't. They'll never do that.
Josh Promo.
Yeah, they'll never get rid of Josh Primo. Primo's here to stay. He's the future, and I look forward to seeing him grow as a player and get some really, decent minutes here with the squad. Maybe next season, But I wish we could get you a Josh Promo jersey so you could go into the arena wearing that. Just for your misspelling, just put promo on the back of it. But as we go ahead and close this, out here, the Spurs do have some tough opponents this coming week. It's going to start tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which they don't have a good record against, So this game kind of scares me. I mean, anything can happen with this team. You don't know who's going to show up. Today they play the Thunder at 7:30. They play the Nets on Friday. Which is a game that a lot of Spurs fans are going to get excited for. Return of one Patty Mills. And then Sunday to close out the week, they are going to face the dreaded Philadelphia 76ers, which they have no answer for Joel Embiid. the Sixers absolutely trash the Spurs every time they match up against them, and it's because of size, and athleticism.
Yes.
They just can't match them. Bad matchup. So, predictions, guys. We got these 3 games, starting with the OKC game today. Vicky, what do you think the team does? Do you predict they're going to go
Ah,
1-2? Are they going to win all 3? What do you think? Or are they going to lose every single game?
I think they may go. Okay, realistically, I think 1 and 2. But I think they'll win tonight. I hope
Don't
they'll win
don't
tonight.
guarantee victory, please, God, no.
I won't. I won't. But I will say that my reason for thinking that they could potentially go 2-1 is just that they do have an answer for Patty. I think they will have an answer for Patty. I hope because they know him.
I say Patty's going to go off on him big. He's going to drop like 30. He drop a 30-piece McNugget meal on him.
He's doing so well. But I mean, they know him. They know him. That's all I gotta think. So I think they could get that, but more than likely, I think 1 and 2.
All right. What about you, Rocky? What do you think? They got these 3 games starting with the OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder today. They're gonna go 1-2. They're gonna lose every single game. What are you gonna give us?
I think they're gonna go 1-2. I could see 2-1 against the Nets because I forgot Katie's out, and Katie
Mhm.
against anyone, no one can guard him. And I think they can obviously contain Harden. Harden's kind of been an inconsistent player, but the main people they got to worry about to me is Patty and Kyrie because Kyrie is playing correct in away games. So if Kyrie's be playing,
Oh, true.
it's going to be a good matchup to see versus Dejounte. Kyrie's just Kyrie. When he's healthy, he's
True.
one of the best point guards in the league. But I can see relatively 1-2 being the realistic option. Like you mentioned earlier with the Sixers, they have no answer for
Yeah.
Embiid. And I kind of make a joke that in the preview that I wrote that like Philly's going to be here, so Philly executives are going to be here, so Ben Simmons talk could be happening. But
Oh
that's just
gosh.
me just trying to stir the pot.
Okay. So I say that Spurs are gonna wind up going 1-2. I think they can win the game against um OKC, but the other two, I don't give them any chance. So we're running out of
Mhm.
time here. We're gonna go to Vicky now, and we're gonna transition here. Vicky, I made this just for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Here we
Yes.
go.
Yes. Yes.
Hold on. There you are.
I love that. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna give a silver and black lining for this week. It's I think most people will agree on it. In spite of the Spurs' recent losses and crazy trades and whatever talk and everything happening, there is one thing that is good that I think all Spurs fans have liked, and that is more Josh Primo minutes. I think we're going to see more of them. It started with the COVID, everyone being out for the COVID situation, and he's shown up. I think he's done pretty well for a rookie. So yeah, so that's my silver and black lining.
There
We've
you
gotten to
go.
see Josh Primo, the rookie.
We gave Vicky her own segment, the silver and black lining, the infamous.
I
She's
love that.
infamous for that
I love the
I
phrase.
little
enjoy that.
bling.
You should have seen her, man. We're just talking about it. She was so happy with herself. So happy. So okay,
I
let's
am. I'm still happy.
yeah, we got to get off here because Rock's got to go ahead and make a call here. But as we go ahead and bring the show to a
Yeah.
close here, we're gonna go ahead and show everyone where they can follow you guys on social media. Since Rocky is the new guy on the scene here, we'll start with you, Rock. So make sure you go ahead and follow Rocky Garza Jr. And I spelled your name wrong. There goes my typo. It's Rocky. I hit the K, but my keyboard is not working right. So you can follow
Okay.
Rocky at
Roasty.
Rock
Roasty.
ROCKSS Jr. on Twitters. And you can also follow the Vicky Vic right here. You can see it. Follow Vicky Vix on Twitter at the Vicky Vix. And you can follow me, Joe Garcia, at Two Shots Podcast. On Twitter, I'm just TWO, Two Shots Podcast. So for Rocky Garza Jr. and Vicky Vic, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching another episode of the Spurs Rewind. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, be kind. We're out. Peace.